like Pepsi. Yeah. I'm okay.
What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on WoodwardSports.com. I am Spencer Raxter, filling in for Easy is the one and only Sam Flannel. We have Chris Platty in the TD booth and JB Smooth on the ones and twos, and we're just going to get right into it. Obviously, the NBA trade deadline ended about 2 hours ago, and there were a lot of moves, a lot of different things. The league kind of shook up a little bit, but the biggest thing for us to talk about was the departure of Saddiq Bey and the addition of James Wiseman. James Wiseman, the former number 2 overall pick of the Golden State Warriors, struggled early in his career, dealt with some injuries, has only played 60 games, and is only 21 years of age. Flannel, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this? A lot of people don't like it. I already see in the chat, get rid of Weaver, trade Troy and Weaver, L trade for Weaver is terrible. Why would you do this? What are you thinking about this trade?
This is one that I have a lot of mixed feelings about. On one hand, I don't think losing Saddiq Bey is that big of a deal. I think a lot of people are making too much of it, and James Wiseman is obviously a guy who was a number 2 overall pick once, obviously has a lot of offensive upside. I'm concerned with he doesn't rebound very well, not a terrific defender by any means. He reminds me a lot of Marvin Bagley, but maybe with a more of an upside. A guy who was obviously highly touted, can do some things offensively, not a great defender, not a great rebounder, but put in a perfect situation, can do some things. And I know Marvin Bagley has kind of disappointed this year, but last season in the 18 games he played, he showed a lot. I'm hoping that James Wiseman can kind of make a similar type impact. But when you require a guy like James Wiseman, it could either go really well or it could be a disaster. I don't think it will be a disaster, but I think there's a lot of high ceiling, low floor value to a James Wiseman.
Yeah, I agree. And you look at it, and this is what you would have gotten for a Saddiq Bey trade. Saddiq Bey would have not netted you a first-round draft pick. He wouldn't have gotten you some all-star that you're trying to grab. That is not a realistic expectation when you're trading Saddiq Bey. I loved Saddiq. I loved what he did, but he was very inconsistent when he came to shooting the ball, and the Pistons were waiting for him to take that step forward, and he never took that step forward. You look at him, and on the market, what he would have given you was this a frustrated former great pick, somebody with a lot of potential, somebody else that fits the same mold as Saddiq Bey, where it is a guy with a lot of potential, a guy that we've seen could possibly do some things in the league, but he wasn't reaching that potential just yet. And that's what they got out of James Wiseman. This is a guy that was the number 2 overall pick for a reason. He has a lot of things you can like about his game. He's only played 60 games in the NBA. He's only 21 years old, so the story is not finished on him by any sense of the means. So for me, it's, I don't know, I have been saying it for weeks that I don't think Bojan Bogdanovic and Saddiq Bey can coexist on the same roster. So to have them together, people are saying, oh, you need wing depth, you need a wing like Saddiq. You don't need a wing like Saddiq. You need a wing that plays defense, and he does not.
He does not play defense. What Saddiq Bey has been throughout his entire career with the Detroit Pistons, unfortunately, has been a bit of a tease. I would argue the ultimate tease, because he has some qualities that if he could ever develop them into what we think his potential could be, would be a very valuable NBA player. He is extremely streaky. He's at a 51-point game. He has games where he's hotter than fish grease from 3-point, but he also has games like he did last night where he was basically a non-factor, 1 of 6, 1 of 4 from 3, 7 points, did basically nothing. There was too much of that, and obviously he's basically a traffic cone as a defender.
Yes.
And that's something that I thought he would develop more into, but that's been very, very disappointing seeing him not play a lick of defense.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see him go, but like you said, it's not something that I do believe Pistons fans are overvaluing what he would be able to get in the trade market. You saw he basically got traded for, 3 second-round picks that turned into Gary Payton II. So would you rather have Gary Payton II on your team or James Wiseman? For me, it's James Wiseman.
I would probably agree with that. It's kind of crazy, us as Pistons fans, we all kind of overvalue our players, that he's worth the same as Gary Payton II. By the numbers, by what happened on the trade deadline.
Yes.
And it's so disappointing because I think we all had high hopes for Saddiq Bey. I mean, he came right out his rookie year, contributed, was a valuable contributor. And I think we all thought this was a pick that Troy Weaver hit. And now it's trade deadline of year 3 and he's gone. and I'm not going to lose a lick of sleep over it.
It's not something that I'm regretting, or I like Saddiq Bey. I'm not in love with this trade by any means, but I'm not freaking out over it as well. Chris, how did you feel about this?
Yeah, I'm with you and against you, Spencer. I'm a little bit in the middle. I agree that Saddiq's value was second-round picks, and I'd rather have a guy like Wiseman than second-round picks. I'm not mad at Troy Weaver taking this shot. I think he approached this trade the right way. When you have a young player that's not working out in your team, you want to then explore who are some other young players that maybe, just didn't have the right fit, they could really blossom into something. I just don't like them targeting specifically James Wiseman because his ceiling here is much higher than Saddiq Bey. However, it's limited here by what's around him, which is Jalen Duren, which is Marvin Bagley, which is Isaiah Stewart. Maybe this opens the door for Isaiah Stewart and Marvin Bagley being more expendable, but James Wiseman is a guy that was a former number 2 overall pick, so no doubt he has a higher ceiling than Saddiq Bey. But with Jalen Duren being your star center, or your center of the future, how much opportunity does he really have if he can't play with Jalen Duren that much? Because I don't think those two games fit well, and they can play together. So can he be a backup center? Sure, absolutely. But I would have liked Troy to shoot a shot on a wing player, somebody that can maybe more fit this Piston team right away as a role player, because I think the front court is a little crowded. Again, I'm not mad at the trade. I think it's the value of the trade, and if there's anything we've learned from Troy Weaver, it's patience. It's that at the trade deadline last year, he didn't trade Jeremy Grant. People were upset. Yeah. That turned into Jalen Duren. Everybody became happy with it. Maybe Wiseman plays pretty well, and you get him for more than seconds. Maybe you up his value, and he has more value around the league than Saddiq Bey, and you turn that into an asset you like, or maybe he's your backup center of the future. It's too early to call it. If anything we've learned from Troy Weaver's tenure is that there's always a plan, and that you have to trust it, because this could be just a stepping stone. This isn't maybe the final form.
This is something that I agree with as well, and I see Apollo in the Woodward Sports chat saying Stu isn't a center, Bagley isn't a center, and that's the truth. You don't have a backup center on this roster. You don't have someone that could take minutes if Jalen Duren gets in a foul trouble, if it's not working out for him, if he needs a rest. You don't have a guy you can put out there and be a true center, and now you have that. And so for me, it is something that he's still going to be getting, 25-plus minutes a game if he's coming off the bench. He's going to be the first big off of the bench. He's going to be a guy that can show what he can do in a system that fits him more than what he was running in Golden State. So I'm not really mad at it. I'm not like I said, I'm not in love with the trade, but I'm not mad at the trade either. It's something that had to be done. And if you do want to go after one of those wings, say you wanted to get a Mikal Bridges or a Cam Thomas or a Cam Johnson or one of those guys that are out there.
I'd take Cam Thomas.
Yeah, I'd take Cam Thomas. Yeah, it would be nice, but like those guys are going to be a bigger check.
Right.
Than Saddiq Bey. You're not getting a better wing for a Saddiq Bey. It's not going to happen. You would have to throw more into that. You're not getting Mikal Bridges for Saddiq Bey and Kevin Knox. It's not going to happen. Like, I'm sorry. It just won't. JB, I haven't heard your thoughts on this. How do you feel about this trade?
I kind of agree with you guys. Like, I'm not worried about it. I mean, it is kind of sad to see Saddiq Bey go, especially to get Wiseman back in return. Even though I was kind of high on Wiseman once the first draft came out, when in 2020, I believe, second overall pick. I was high on him back then, but as of right now, the few years in the NBA hasn't panned out exactly how it's supposed to be for him. But seeing him come over to Detroit, I feel like is the Pistons developing for the future, as you guys said, that backup center position. And of course now all the pressure is now off of him, as how it used to be in Golden State, because Golden State is, once you hit the floor, you want to win, you want to be contending for a championship. Whereas now he comes to Detroit, he can just kind of develop himself and work on his own game. So I'm not in love with it, but I don't hate it at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing about James Wiseman that I'm a little bit intrigued about is how I think he's a guy that could succeed with a Cade Cunningham in like pick and roll situations. And I think this season has sort of unfortunately proved that Isaiah Stewart is basically a non-factor in the NBA. That's all he's going to be. He can't shoot threes.
He cannot. He's proven that he can. The stretch 4 thing is not working out for Beef Stew.
And that's why I said 5.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I just can't see him being a 4 if he can't shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. And like you said, to your point, maybe that means, again, he's not a backup 5. Maybe that just means he's just not on the team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and to me, that was Isaiah Stewart's pathway, if he was going to have one, to success in the NBA, to a guy who could actually be on this team when they're ready to win, if he could be that kind of stretch 4 that could shoot threes. He obviously can't do that. He's too short to be a 5, to me. And then Marvin Bagley, he's another one. I think this season, not getting to play with Cade, having injuries, he's regressed quite a bit. He might be expendable too. I think that James Wiseman, his upside is higher than what Marvin Bagley's ever was. And Marvin Bagley had some success last year. Mm-hmm. I think if you get Cade back and healthy, and James Wiseman is sort of a pick-and-roll type center, because he is athletic, I think he has some higher offensive upside than even Jalen Duran.
Yes.
So I think he could work here. And like I've said before, Saddiq Bey, I mean, what really was he going to be? Like, I think he is what he is, unfortunately. I hate to say it. I know he's young, but he hasn't really developed at all. Mm-hmm. He's a worse three-point shooter than when he first started. He's basically the same shooter, and that's what we were told he would do well. I think a lot of people that are sort of upset about this kind of have his 51-point game on loop and don't remember what he actually is, what he actually can be at his worst, which is colder than freaking Antarctica. We've seen it. Yeah. We saw it last night. He was awful. And one of the most embarrassing losses of the season, by the way, but hey, that's water under the bridge.
It was tough. And you're right. It's Pistons fans everywhere were hoping to see a leap from Saddiq Bey this season. They were hoping he could prove to be a key piece, to prove to be a second or a third on a good contending team, but that just wasn't the case for whatever reason. And unfortunately, Troy realized that and moved on from him. And I like Saddiq Bey. I liked what he brought. Obviously, the guy had a 50-point game in his career, so that he's possible of putting the ball in the bucket, or he's capable of putting the ball in the bucket, but he didn't take the steps forward that Pistons front and upper management needed to see from him, and they decided to kick the tires on something that has a lot higher upside. Like we said, this guy is 21 years old. He's only played 60 games in the NBA, and he's the former number 2 overall pick. So there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, and of course, for anybody, if you think I'm just like a Saddiq Bey hater or anything like that, I wouldn't mind having him on this team and having him go through his first contract. That wouldn't break my heart by any means, but it also doesn't break my heart that we're losing him because he just did not become what I expected, what we all expected. He's a tease. Mm-hmm. That's what he is. Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, that's the other thing about this trade is not going to change the future of your franchise. Best case scenario, it can in a positive way, but worst case scenario, it's not. Like, I understand that you want to win every trade and you want to get better, sure, but at the end of the day, this could be a trade that Pistons fans forget about in 3 years, or it could be a trade that you remember as just kind of a wash. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe Saddiq ends up being a good role player somewhere, and James Wiseman ends up being a decent backup center for the Pistons, and both sides are happy. But this isn't like trading your star player where you have to nail that trade.
Yes.
This is not a trade you have to nail. This is a trade that was a risk reward for all 3 teams involved, and we'll see how it plays out, but you got to give it time.
We do have to give it time.
Yeah, and sure. just one quick thing. Sorry I cut you off, Spencer.
No, you're good.
James Wiseman, he did some things in his rookie year. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's never proven anything. I mean, he showed a lot of his potential. I mean, I think he averaged 11.5 and 5.5
and a block a game.
Yeah, I mean, and he was a rookie.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's never done anything. I don't think that James Wiseman is going to be a complete disaster here, no matter what. I think he will contribute, and at his best, he could contribute a hell of a lot more than Saddiq Bey, and that's intriguing to me.
I agree. Why don't you tell us about Ulta?
Absolutely. I will do that. At Ulta, uptime matters. Ulta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done. I know it's warming up, but you know you got that bog project. And if you got that bog project, Ulta Rent has you covered. Call them today at 844-GO-TO-ULTA. That is 844-GO-TO-ULTA.
Woodward Sports loves sports, and we also love to party. Join us for the big super party. Wait. We can't say super. We really can't say. Come join us at our super party on Sunday, February 12th. From the only place that can handle a Woodward Sports super party. Well, our super party will be at Flight Club on Michigan Avenue in Inkster. Join us for a live pregame show and watch party with the crew. Enjoy a halftime buffet. DJs, the Woodward Sports family, and more entertainment. You don't want to miss the big game with Woodward Sports. Get there early. This event will reach capacity. Come celebrate the Lions season. Enjoy the final game of the year in style. See you Super Sunday at Flight Club. At least the party will be uncensored.
And the Eagles are so much better than the Eagles.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on WoodwardSports.com. I'm Spencer Raxter. I have Sam Flannel joining me on the desk. We have Chris Platty in the TD booth, JB Smooth on the ones and twos. We just got done giving our initial thoughts over the big trade between the Pistons and the Golden State Warriors. And Chris, you said you have the tweet.
Yeah, I'm working on the second part of it because I want to include the Kevin Knox part as well that we didn't mention. So
we're going to get that up there in just 1 second if Chris does his job, and then we can put it together and show you guys exactly what happens because the Pistons did include Kevin Knox as part of the package as well. And for me, again, just going over the trade, taking it at face value, and you got it right there. The Warriors received 5 second-round picks. The Hawks received Saddiq Bey. The Pistons received James Wiseman. And then the Warriors also received Kevin Knox, who they traded to the Blazers to get Gary Payton the second. So that tells you what? That tells you that Saddiq Bey is in that class. That is one thing for me that a lot of Pistons fans and a lot of fans of Saddiq Bey are overvaluing what he actually meant to an NBA franchise, what you could get from him on the trade deadline. It's not a guy that you could have gone out and traded a Saddiq Bey for a good piece to put on your wing, somebody that you needed, a difference maker. It would have taken a bigger package than that. And I just think that what they got for him was just about the return I expected.
Yeah, and it's disappointing. I think we're all disappointed that's what the haul that Saddiq Bey was able to get because we all had such high hopes for him, and he showed a lot. And he is a true NBA player, and by that I just mean that he will stick on a roster. He will contribute something to someone. I don't think he'll ever be a big piece on a winning team, but he can put up some numbers on a bad team like he's done with the Pistons. It's just I don't think that Pistons fans, and even myself, I struggle with putting him in the same class as Gary Payton II. And I'm not, no disrespect to Gary Payton. He was a very big contributor on the Golden State Warriors championship team. I'm not denying that. But with Saddiq Bey, I thought that he was going to be maybe a guy who could be a number 3 on a championship team. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but I think he had that kind of potential. I mean, Saddiq Bey at his best. He looked like he had all the makings of like a 3-and-D sort of star. But he doesn't play any D. And if you just look at his blind resume, you would say, this guy can't really shoot. But because it's Saddiq Bey and you see that he has impeccable form, that he has gotten hotter than fish grease many, many, many times, you think, oh yeah, this guy's a great shooter. But by the numbers, he never really was. It is a sad pill to swallow. I hate swallowing that pill. I'm not happy that Saddiq Bey turned out to basically be a bad draft pick by Troy Weaver, but here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Here we are, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, including that whole draft class not looking too great when you actually look at it now with everybody was excited for, obviously, Killian's role, but Isaiah Stewart and Saddiq Bey being steals of the draft, and how they can be part of the young core and the young roster that is going to help the Pistons back to greatness. But we're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about Troy Weaver. But do you have something to say, Chris?
Oh, I was just going to say, I mean, didn't we talked about this for weeks leading up to the trade deadline when the Lakers made that trade for Rui Hachimura, and didn't we all say on this unanimously, like, isn't that about what Saddiq Bey's value is? And that was 3 second-round picks. This ended up being 5, so you know, he's in that ballpark, and that's really the market of where he's at right now.
Yeah, no, that like I said, that's what you would get for what Saddiq Bey is, and I said it multiple times that I didn't think that Saddiq Bey and Bojan Bogdanovic can coexist on the same roster. I think they do pretty much exactly the same thing for you as a player. It's not a lineup that I'd like to see. The defensive unit would be extremely bad if you're lining up Saddiq Bey and Bojan Bogdanovic without Cade Cunningham, who is one of your best perimeter defenders. Sure. So we'll see what happens with James Wiseman. Obviously, there's still a lot to dissect with what his career ends up being. He still has, like I said, the guy's only played 60 games in his career. And some people calling him a bust, saying he sucks at this, he can't defend, he can't rebound, he can't do this. He hasn't played a full season yet in the NBA, so I'm not going to sit there and say what he can and can't do.
Wasn't that the defense for Killian?
Yeah, that was the defense for Killian over and over consistently. And if you're going to do that, you have to do it with him as well. And I'm not willing to make assumptions on a player who was obviously extremely talented coming out of college, or he wouldn't have been the number 2 pick in the draft.
At the same time, though, let me kind of play devil's advocate a little bit. Does the fact that he's only played 60 games in almost 3 seasons, I think that's concerning. That's the one thing that I'm a little bit like, I mean, he didn't play a single minute on last year's Warriors championship team.
Yeah, he got the ring, though.
He did get the ring, but he didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything.
Like, he is such a young player, and he already missed a season. And he's had injury issues his entire career, like his rookie year, last year, this year.
It's hard for a big to fit in that rotation, though.
Sure.
Like, I understand they drafted James Wiseman because they thought, you know, he can increase his shooting a little bit. And in his rookie year, he showed that he could step out there and knock one down. It's not a consistent three-point shot or anything like that. That is something that will be, excuse me, a big factor to his growth is if he consistently grows that three-point shot. But the Warriors roster is not built for a 7-footer. The Warriors, you know, they did it with Zaza Pachulia and Andrew Bogut, but when they were at their best, it's when Draymond or Kevin Looney was playing the 5.
Yes.
So I think this is a better situation to help him grow and for him to be able to use more of his capabilities to a higher extent. But like I said, there's a lot of answers that we need to wait to see. And I just remember the exact same feelings coming out of last season when they traded Jeremy Grant. And people were like, what the hell? What kind of return is that shit? Blah, blah, blah. And then it turns around and get Jalen Duren.
Yep.
And so I'm not ready to give up hope yet. I do believe Marvin Bagley starting to look like his days are numbered in Detroit.
Unfortunately. And it's sad because I was a big Marvin Bagley guy. I love what he did last year. I thought he fit very well with Cade. And Cade's play he played the best ball of his career once Marvin Bagley got there. I had high hopes for him. But this year, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. He's averaging 4 less points per game. I think some of that has to do with Cade, but still, he's regressed. He is what he is. And James Wiseman, I think his upside is higher. And yeah, everybody knew that he's not going to fit in very well with the Golden State Warriors in that team. You're drafting him to be more than Zaza Pachulia and Andrew Bogut. When you draft sort of that, I wouldn't say generational type talent, but that superstar upside talent at number 2 overall, you expect him to be a centerpiece of your team. Chris, I saw you raising your hand.
Yeah, and that was my thing is I agree. I go back and forth with the Warriors thing of like, that's the greatest system basketball has seen in the last 20 years, so it's very hard for me to imagine a player not being able to work in that system. And at the same time, like, is it any concern that he couldn't be Kevon Looney? That he couldn't be Zaza Pachulia? I mean, again, I go back and forth with this. I'm not decided either way because he does have different skill sets than those players. But those players aren't asked much to do in the Warriors system. So are you worried at all that they just... I don't know. I go back and forth with it. I really do.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I there's no guarantees whatsoever that James Wiseman is going to come in and be a huge contributor on this team. Maybe he's just not good. I saw enough in his rookie season to say that I don't think that's the case, but he's obviously had basically a season and a half that have basically been lost seasons. He missed all of last year. He's had some injury issues this year, and for the most part, he's kind of fallen out of the rotation. He hasn't done a whole lot of anything. He's just kind of a bench guy.
So Andscape, an ESPN company, used to be the Undefeated, reported that the Pistons plan on starting James Wiseman.
I'm excited about that.
I don't know if that's alongside Jalen Durant. There's no way you take Jalen Durant out of the starting lineup.
I'd be very confused by that. I don't think Jalen Durant's done anything to not earn the starting spot that he's been given.
Jalen Durant has certainly not done anything to sort of give up his spot. But I'm going to say this, and I think I have to duck afterwards. James Wiseman has a higher upside than Jalen Durant.
Oof. I mean, it's offensively, yes.
Absolutely.
Offensively, yes, he does. But defensively and rebounding-wise, no.
Oh, of course not. I mean,
I know you just hate defense. So.
I do not hate defense. But I mean, to me, I'm not quite as high on Jalen Durant as some. I think he's been obviously a damn good rookie. What he's provided rebounding and defensively cannot be overstated, and he seems to have developed a little bit of an offensive game. Mm-hmm. But if James Wiseman hits, he could be like...
He was the number 2 pick for a reason.
I mean, I'm not saying he's going to ever be like a 20 and 8 guy, but it wouldn't shock me out... Like, it wouldn't completely shock me.
Mm-hmm. I just what I saw out of Jalen Durant that impressed me the most since he's been playing is his perimeter defense.
Yeah.
His ability to switch off on a guard and stay in front of a guard on the perimeter for the size he is, for how young he is, not to get crossed up with his feet or anything like that is extremely, extremely impressive to me. And I'm not sure what we're going to see with Wiseman in that capability. I really have to. I mean, I've watched him play before, but I wasn't really focused on his perimeter defense or things like that. So I'd have to go back and look at some tape. But for me, I'm good with him starting if it's alongside Jalen Durant. I mean, there's no way in hell he's starting and Jalen Durant isn't. That is my sentiment.
And I 100% agree with that. When I say upside, I mean, in the future. Jalen Durant has obviously done more than enough to be a starter. We were all clamoring for it at the beginning of the year, and now we got it, and he's played very, very well. But to what you said, I mean, I think what they do well can complement each other. I know having 2 7-footers in your starting lineup, that's a little... I mean, this isn't the Twin Towers with Tim Duncan and David Robinson. Yeah. It's a completely different era, but...
It's already somebody already posted that.
Right? It is intriguing, though, for someone with such a high upside who, had an okay rookie year, who has all the talent in the world, who I think has some potential as like a pick-and-roll type player, maybe even pick and pop if he can develop his jump shot, which he's shown that he can hit. And Jalen Durant... He's just kind of that, to me, Jalen Durant, I've always said that his ceiling is Rudy Gobert with dog.
Mm-hmm. I know you don't like
Rudy Gobert.
I hate Rudy Gobert, but Rudy Gobert not having dog is a reason why I hate Rudy Gobert. And we both agree on this when you said it. When you first said that on BDE, I said Jalen Durant is already an astronomically better perimeter defender than Rudy Gobert.
Rudy Gobert's clumsy on the perimeter.
He's a joke on the perimeter. But we're going to get right back into this. But first, let me tell you guys about Planet Fitness, because now is the best time to join Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is the home of the judgment-free zone, where you can work out in a non-intimidating, judgment-free atmosphere. The gym that has always been known for being clean is now cleaner than ever, has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes in the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You can join in club or online at planetfitness.com. And from now until February 16th, you can find your big fitness energy. You can join for just $1 down and $10 a month. Hurry, because the offer ends soon. Like I said, join in club or online at planetfitness.com. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
As chilly weather approaches, Big Boy's got the perfect comfort meals for you. Try our hearty classic meatloaf or our creamy Cajun chicken Alfredo. These will be sure to leave you craving for more. How about breakfast? Our stuffed potato pancakes are back with our lumberjack, blockbuster, and Santa Fe Garden. These potato pancakes will definitely fill you up. Whether it's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, come stock up on the perfect comfort meal today. We'll see you soon at Big Boy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Olafson, DC, the founder of the Custom Health Centers, and we've helped thousands of people learn how easy it is to lose weight and keep it off with our customized weight loss and body contouring programs.
With Custom Health, you don't feel hungry, you eat well. My name is Simeon Timbuk, and I've lost 71 pounds on the program.
Call us at 844-789-THIN or visit CustomHealthCenters.com for a free consultation and get started for as little as $5 a day.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
The Foaling Warehouse in Hamtramck is the home of the original football bowling pin game called Foaling. Multiple different ways you can play. They've got $12 open unlimited play and private lane reservation for $120 if you get thirsty. They got a $2 mystery beer vending machine and multiple fully loaded bars for you to choose from. So make sure you go check them out in Hamtramck or visit them online at foalingwarehouse.com. What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on WoodwardSports.com. I'm Spencer Axter. He is Flannel Sam. We have Chris Platty in the TD booth and JB Smooth on the ones and twos. We've just been going at it about this trade. Obviously, the NBA trade deadline ended today at 3 o'clock. There was a lot of moving parts, and we will talk about some more of those later, but we still have to talk about this, especially with the new news that they are potentially starting James Wiseman. The Detroit decides to start James Wiseman. So if you're just joining us and you're living under a rock or you've never heard of the Twitter app, James Wiseman was traded to Detroit essentially for Saddiq Bey and Kevin Knox. Some other movement went around with multiple picks, and Saddiq Bey ended up in Atlanta. So now the Pistons have James Wiseman and they don't have Saddiq Bey, and it's being said that they plan to start him. Again, we both agree that there's no way Jalen Durant is being removed from the starting lineup. So in all likelihood, it will be a Wiseman and Durant front court for the Detroit Pistons, which is something that I'm interested to see how it works. It will obviously help with the rebounding differential. It will help with some interior defense where they got absolutely obliterated by the Cavaliers last night with points in the paint. This is something I'm excited to see because I've talked about Beef Stew before. I've talked about liking his game, but seeing him as the second big off a bench on a team that's actually contending.
Yeah.
And so if he could have found that three-pointer and hit it consistently, that changes things, but that experiment has failed. That experiment, I believe he's like, going into last night, I think he was 0 for 30 on his last 30 three-point attempts.
Is that bad?
So I think it's pretty bad. And I need something else there. We'll see what James Wiseman can do. If they do intend to start him and play him alongside Jalen Durant, that would be something to see. But going forward, I'd like to see how they can play and how they can coexist on a court.
I mean, it's certainly intriguing. I mean, you've already got in Cleveland. I know it's not the same thing like Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Yep, I'm calling it right now. That's what it's going to be. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are both like elite defenders, and James Wiseman absolutely is not. But it's just, it doesn't seem the way that NBA basketball is going, having two bigs like that start and play significant minutes together. But I don't know. The Detroit Pistons, they're not good. I mean, obviously losing, hot take.
Hot take.
Losing Cade Cunningham for the season, basically having a lost year, that has a lot to do with that. But even amongst all that, defensively, they've been terrible. They haven't. Like a guy like Saddiq Bey, for example, the reason he's gone is because he didn't develop.
Yes.
He's one of the glaring people that was supposed to be a huge contributor that did not develop like we thought that he would. And now he's gone, and now James Wiseman is in. It is interesting, though, because like I said, I see their skill sets and what they do well as somewhat different. I mean, and we talked about Isaiah Stewart being a guy that you thought could hopefully be a big contributor on this team, be like a 4 or a 5. But what...
Wishful thinking.
Very, very wishful thinking, because what James Wiseman has that beef stew does not and cannot fix is James Wiseman is a 7-footer.
Yes.
7'6" wingspan.
Yes.
He has some offensive skills. He's shown that he can shoot. He can be a pick and roll type player. He has a few post moves, not necessarily. He still seems a little bit raw, but I think people are acting like he was just some poverty player who never showed anything. His issue was more injury. And, maybe being part of a team that didn't fit him super well.
Yes.
I think with the Pistons, it's worth a shot. I like the idea that Troy Weaver is kind of willing to shake things up a bit. This is not what you would expect from a team going like, we're going to start 2 7-footers. But damn it, the Detroit Pistons need to do something.
They need to do something. They need to do something because what they were doing was not working, and we'll see. Obviously, this is going to be a big wait-and-see moment with with James Wiseman, because we haven't seen him out on the floor with another 7-footer like that before. We've barely seen him out on the floor, period. We need to see what he can do and how he can coexist. And, Chris, do you think that those two players can play together? Do you think starting them together could be something that would actually work in the modern NBA?
I think it can if one or both of them develop skill sets that complement each other more. Like, one of them has to become a better shooter. Neither one of them have to become elite, especially with Durant showing his ability to pass, particularly from the high post and the top of the key. Like, he's been able to showcase that he can do some playmaking. He can do some of the actions and things that other star big men are doing in this league, like Embiid and Jokic. Not on that level, but of course showing that he can do some playmaking and facilitating. And so that can work with Wiseman, but ultimately one of them has to be a shooter. And I know you and I, Spencer, we always reference this. That turnaround, Jay.
Yeah.
The cleanest miss I have ever seen in my life.
Most excited I've ever been for his jump shot in my life.
Easily, but I think, yes, one of them has to become a decent shooter, or at least a capable threat from long distance for it to work. But with Jalen Durant's passing and their size and their move, their just overall athletic prowess between the two of them, it definitely can work. But my question is, are we all just like overthinking this? Because does this really matter when we get Victor Wembanyama in a couple months? Like,
if they get Victor Wembanyama in a couple months, no, it would not matter.
Yeah.
Hopefully that is, but you can't bank on winning the lottery.
You can't bank on winning the lottery.
Literally. Yeah.
Literally. But I just think that, again, this opens my mind to the trade more. If Troy Weaver and higher basketball minds than myself think that there is a potential that Durant and Wiseman can play minutes together, because that was my thing against the trade, was that he was just going to be a backup center to Durant. But if they think that he can play with Durant, that opens things up. And I think that that's been something that Troy's been looking for this whole time with Bagley, with Stewart. He's been looking for it. That front court has bothered Troy Weaver forever, and I think he's trying to figure it out. And this is clearly another experiment, and we'll have to see how it goes the final 30 games.
Yeah, for sure. JB, you think they can coexist on a court together?
I think that's still up in the air, but it is exciting to see right now. It would be nice if they could, but I think what they're trying to do is just try this experiment out for a chance. Just see who is primarily the most dominant center that they have, whether that's Wiseman or that's Durant as of right now. Of course, everyone's going to side with Durant, of course, because he's been proving it night in and night out. But now it's just a little bit more of a competition to see if either they can work together or if one is going to be the lead center than the other. So I think right now they're just kind of throwing this experiment out there to see what works. And right now you got the time to do that, because I think we can all be a consensus and say that, hey, they're tanking to try and get Wembanyama. If not, it's going to be scooped. So
I agree.
Yeah, the discussion of them playing together, I think it opens up a whole realm of possibilities, because I don't think that there's any way that the James Wiseman trade could be a rousing success if he's your backup center. You don't want James Wiseman to just be playing like 20 minutes a game off the bench, kind of trading places with Jalen Durant. Sort of like when he goes out, one goes in, blah, you know how that goes. It's I don't think that's enough. I don't think that would have made him a guy that even a Saddiq Bey was worth trading for. So to me, it's very interesting, because on one end, this could work really well. Jalen Durant and James Wiseman could coexist well together. James Wiseman could end up playing the best basketball of his career. Yeah. Jalen Durant could continue to develop. But I'm also, what if it doesn't go well? I don't want to be like take it to negative town, but we have to be ready for that possibility because it is a risk.
Yeah.
It is, and I just want to read this quote real quick from James Edwards' latest piece about the Saddiq Bey trade. Obviously, James Edwards is a great beat writer for the Detroit Pistons, has some great writing, and a quote from his newest article after the trade is, Bey's style of play was starting to wear on some in Detroit's organization. He did have the ability to score in bunches, but his shot selection and at times tunnel vision went against what the team wanted.
Yeah, and that's you saw it when you watched him play. He could do things that winning teams need, like shoot the three very, very streakily. But he also, there were some times where he'd get ice cold and you'd wonder, like, what the hell are you doing? And for being sort of a 6'8" wing, he didn't defend worth a damn. He basically was, he had the no defense of Bojan Bogdanovic, but Bojan Bogdanovic is an elite shooter, 42% from three. And Saddiq Bey was giving you 34.6%. He was shooting worse from the floor than Bojan was from three. Like, what does that tell you? Chris, you had your hand up.
Yeah. To get more to the fit, I worry about the defensive fit because just talking about what we've talked about in the last few segments is Spencer complimented, and I've complimented this. We've all noticed how well Jalen Durant is at perimeter defense. Mm-hmm. He's great at that, but he's also great at protecting the rim. Wiseman is a player that we haven't seen do either of those well. So defensively, for it to work, we are focused on offense, but defensively, for it to work, Wiseman has to either become a good interior defender or a good perimeter defender for it to work, because you can't have you can't have Wiseman be just nothing on defense, because he won't bring you enough. Because even if their games develop, it will never be a perfect marriage. It's that kind of style in the NBA just doesn't work anymore. You can't have that perfect marriage with two front court big men.
I agree. And, if you bought a Saddiq Bey jersey last week, you might need somebody to talk to, and we got it for you. That is the SMA or the Sports Marketing Agency, because the Sports Marketing Agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. So if you or someone you know is struggling, make sure you head to thesportsma.com and get the help you deserve. We'll be right back with some talk about Troy Weaver.
Oh, yeah.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1, what's your why? More epic energy, better sleep, blow off steam? Step 2, join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3, bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Downtown Detroit is all decked out this winter season with the return of the Cadillac Lodge in the Monroe Street Midway. The Midway has a giant slide, winter bumper cars, and an indoor arcade. Plus, you can grab drinks at the lodge before or after Red Wings or Pistons home games, but you can no longer see Saddiq Bey, unfortunately. Shop, eat, and play downtown all day long with Decked Out Detroit, or check them out at deckedoutdetroit.com.
What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on woodwardsports.com. We've been breaking down in depth the Pistons' move to bring in James Wiseman and to ship out Saddiq Bey, and that has brought up some talk about Troy Weaver. And a big thing that Troy Weaver was praised for were his draft classes, his draft ability. And when you look at his first draft pick being Killian Hayes, not living up to what the expectations were set for him as one of the top picks in the NBA draft. You look at Saddiq Bey, no longer on the team, and you look at Isaiah Stewart, who is failing as his reclamation project as a stretch four. But with Isaiah Stewart, I'm less worried about because he's still a solid second-round pick. It's a guy that it has a role on a team. It's not at a starting capacity more likely, but he has a role, so that one I'm not going to kill him for. But Troy Weaver has not, I don't know how to say this, he's rubbed some people the wrong way.
Look at the chat, right?
Recently.
They want him gone.
A lot of people want him gone, which is a little too far for me, but is your faith in Troy Weaver teetering at all?
Teetering? Sure. I guess the best way that I would sort of put it is that when I think of Detroit sports GMs, I think the consensus for a long time was Brad Holmes, Steve Yzerman, Troy Weaver, we all have 100% faith in. To me right now, it's more the only two that I have implicit trust in right now 100% are Steve Yzerman and Brad Holmes. Troy Weaver, the reality is his first draft, I firmly believe, and I take no pleasure in saying this, will be an abject failure.
Yes.
Killian Hayes, to me, is a bum. I think he's proving it in his third year. In his so-called breakout year, he still can't get to 40% from the field. Isaiah Stewart is a tweener who can't shoot threes. Yeah. And what do we all say? Or what did I say?
Yeah.
For Isaiah Stewart to maximize what he can be as an NBA player, he's got to learn how to shoot the three consistently. And as you said before, 0 for his last 30. That is an abject disaster.
It's not great.
And Saddiq Bey, he's off the team. He's gone completely. So that draft, his first ever draft, absolute failure, at least up to this point, and I don't think it's going to get any better. But in 2021, who did he take number 1 overall?
Cade Cunningham.
And in my opinion, he does get credit for that pick because there were Jalen Green people, there were Evan Mobley people, and both of them have turned out to be good players. But Jalen Green, I wouldn't want him on this Pistons team. He's too much of a solo act. And Evan Mobley, I mean, obviously he's a really good big, but he hasn't quite taken that step that I thought, although he is an elite defender as well. Cade Cunningham, great pick. I think we expect that his ceiling is best player on a championship team. Mm-hmm. Then last year's draft, Jaden Ivey. I know that he struggled at times with shooting and defense, but he's still been...
I think he's been a top 3 rookie in this class.
I would say so. I mean, Jalen Williams of Oklahoma City might be. Yeah. But give or take, at the worst, a top 5 rookie. Mm-hmm. And Jalen Durant, I think we all are happy with what he's done defensively. Yes. And his perimeter defense, I didn't even think he'd be that good.
No, me either.
No, I don't think anybody did. But he's the best defender. Probably, I'd say the best defender on the team. He's obviously...
Not saying much, but yeah, I'd agree.
Yes, and he's obviously proved that he can be a great rebounder, rim protector. He's got... The last 2 draft classes, I'd say, have been... I wouldn't say... You can't say home runs yet, but I think we're all happy with who they have.
I agree.
And then you got, when you talk about acquisitions, Marvin Bagley's looking like it might not be so great. Bojan, though.
Bojan was a good move.
Bojan Bogdanovic just had the best offensive season of his career at age 33 with the Detroit Pistons. So I wouldn't say that I've lost faith or completely lost faith in Troy Weaver. I just don't have 100% implicit trust in him. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that in retrospect, the 2020 draft, failure.
Yeah.
I hate to say it. I never thought I would say that.
It is.
But yes.
It is a failure. Chris, can you put up a poll asking people if they've lost faith in Troy Weaver? It's I agree. That first draft class is a failure when you look at it. Like I said, I think Isaiah Stewart is a good value for where you got him. Second round picks don't tend to work out that much anyways, and you're looking at him as someone who can do something, at least someone who can be in the rotation of a team. A lot of people had higher hopes for that because he did show a lot of promise early on in his career, and people thought he could be a starter or someone in a first big off the bench at the very least. But I think he is a solid depth piece, and that is not something that I'm fawning over, but it's something you can accept with where he was drafted. But Saddiq Bey and Killian have been failures for their draft position and their expected return after seeing the early results of their team. But I'm not ready to say I'm losing faith in Troy Weaver just yet. I think, like you said, he did sign Bojan Bogdanovic, which was a great move. He did draft Jaden Ivey and Jalen Durant this year, which were great moves. he drafted Cade Cunningham. I'm not going to give him too much credit on that because that was a slam dunk. As you get the number 1 overall pick, you got to do it. So, but still, he made the decision, which some people were questioning. Yeah. There's a lot of people, we want Jalen Green and stuff like that. But I personally never fell into that camp. I was always a Cade guy.
Same.
And we'll still need to see what he can do. He made promises to Bojan Bogdanovic this summer. Well, not Troy Weaver specifically, but Pistons upper management made promises to Bojan Bogdanovic, which I'm just going to assume it was Troy Weaver, saying that they're going to get great players and bring in great players so they can compete, because they want to compete and they want to win next season, which I do think, obviously, Cade Cunningham coming back will play the biggest role out of the Pistons' success. But there are potential pieces you can bring in that can help. There are wings out there that you can bring in that will help, like a Kelly Oubre or a Gary Trent Jr., or depending on what happens with guys like that. But I'm just that first draft is hard to swallow when you look back at it. Pause.
It is hard to swallow. Pause again, especially since, to me, I would say that the rookie seasons of Isaiah Stewart and Saddiq Bey, they showed me something. I thought that they would at least have. I was never a big Isaiah Stewart guy, but he was a playable player. Saddiq Bey, he was a 38% three-point shooter as a rookie. Killian Hayes was always a bum. But that just by the numbers, his first 2 years were historically awful. But I'm definitely not ready to give up on Troy Weaver by any means. Like we've said many, many times, losing Cade Cunningham both offensively and defensively is devastating.
Yeah.
Just imagine before the season if someone would have told you that Cade Cunningham would play 12 games, basically be a lost season.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people would have said they might struggle to win 20 games. That's exactly what they might do, although I think they'll clear 20.
Yeah.
But with Cade Cunningham back, with another year of Jaden Ivey and Jalen Durant, maybe a James Wiseman is one of those great players already to add. And if they can add like a Kelly Oubre or Gary Trent Jr., either of those players would probably have me doing backflips. At least for this team. It wouldn't. I think that's kind of the test of Troy Weaver. What does this team's record look next year? What does the next draft look like? Do they get a Victor Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, or a Brandon Miller? Are they like valuable NBA players who can potentially be stars?
Yeah.
There's the book on Troy Weaver there's still a lot to be written. I would never even think about giving up on him yet, because when you end up having a bad first draft class, what do you got to do next? Have 2 good draft classes in a row.
Yes.
That makes and I think he's making up for it, but they've got to show some improvement in the next couple of years, or else I'll want him gone.
Yeah.
But I don't want him gone yet. Absolutely not.
And I did say Isaiah Stewart was a second-round pick.
He was a first.
Yeah, he was first.
Isaiah Livers.
Isaiah Livers.
Yes.
It was a second-round pick. Yeah, Isaiah Stewart was 16th overall.
Yeah.
But you look at, again, what he brings to the team, and it's about what you expected to get out of him when you're drafting a guy of that caliber, that size at that position. He didn't have star potential written all over him, and it's hard to get a star in the NBA outside of the first 10 picks of the draft.
Yeah, but now I kind of wonder if that's sort of your takeaway. Why in the world did you draft him?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I think they will all end up being people who basically contribute a big fat donut to the Detroit Pistons. And it sucks. I hate to say it, but with Saddiq Bey, who's probably been the best of those 3, he's already gone. That is not a good sign.
Yeah, and right now the chat poll is 57% no, they're not losing faith in Troy Weaver just yet, which is surprising to me. I thought, a lot of people tend to overreact a lot and kind of dig their talons in, but again, Troy has done some great things. Great second-round picks in guys like Isaiah Livers and different things like that. Again, I apologize for that. And we still have to see some of those draft and stash guys that are still overseas doing some things like Prohista or
that one dude,
the Italian stallion
that I'm out on.
Yeah, that Chris doesn't like, that I think could potentially do something in the NBA. I think his size and his skill set is favorable for an NBA player.
I will say the one thing that I'm not losing any faith in Troy Weaver at all. And again, I go back to this Saddiq Bey trade. I don't think this trade is a career-defining trade for him or a legacy-defining trade for Troy Weaver.
Agreed.
But I am starting to see that there could potentially be somewhat of an Achilles heel when it comes to Troy Weaver, and that is falling in love with these prospects that don't work out in their first scenario. And I'm all for that idea, especially when you are a rebuilding team, and especially when you inherited a team like Detroit that had no assets to start with. Of course, you want to take flyers on guys because a lot of times with NBA players, fit is everything. Yeah. And it can make or break a player's career. So I'm all for going for this. But he has continuously done this with Marvin Bagley, with Wiseman, with
Josh Jackson,
Kevin Knox, Jahlil Okafor. Remember,
Frank
he
Jackson,
was here. Like, he takes these swings on these former high picks that don't work out. And again, I'm not saying he shouldn't do this, but he has done this now for 3 seasons. And I'm starting to wonder, maybe that could be an Achilles heel. Maybe he could be, he could be that guy that thinks he can fix the girl. And you just can't do it.
Can't save a hoe.
Yeah, you can't save a hoe. Come on, you know that. J. Cole can't save her.
J. Cole, don't save her. She don't want to be saved. But it's true.
But you don't want that Jada and Will love.
Yeah, they don't want that Jada and Will love. They keep a toothbrush at your crib love. But we're definitely going to talk about this more. And there are a couple questions in the chat that we can address, including Dwane Casey. And who is more to blame between Troy Weaver and Dwane Casey. But first, let me tell you about Lady Jane's, because you can come into Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win a down payment on your dream home up to $200,000. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime, no appointment necessary, because at Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
The Sports Marketing Agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zuniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
You don't have to go to the beach, man. You don't have to get your butt crack full of sand. You just need a little chili peppers, man, to get that glowing beach chili peppers tan. Woo!
With 26 locations in the Metro Detroit area and more coming, Chili Peppers Tanning is where you'll find the cleanest salons in the D. Join the Pepper Club for the best deals on unlimited tanning. Head to chilipepperstanning.com.
You just need a little chili peppers, man.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
The Monroe Street Midway has swapped out roller skating, basketball, and mini golf for a giant Arctic slide, winter bumper cars, and indoor arcade and puck putt. With free entry to the site, enjoy a variety of new activities aimed at creating exceptional winter experiences for everyone. Get to the Midway this winter to enjoy tasty treats and make magical memories during the winter season. Those tasty treats include, but are not limited to, burgers, pierogi, homemade chili, chicken sandwiches, mac and cheese bites, plus gluten-free and vegan goodies, so everyone has an option. And coming soon to Woodward Sports Winter Olympics, you'll be able to compete against Darren McCarty, Braylon Edwards, Adam Baydoun, Ryan Ermanni, Tom Mazaway, Jeff Ifrady, the Woodward Heavyweights, and all of the Woodward Sports family in Monroe Street Midway games. So make sure you check out deck.detroit.com for all your winter fun information. What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on WoodwardSports.com, the new and improved WoodwardSports.com. I am Spencer Raxter. He is Flannel Sam, joining me on the desk. And, of course, we have Chris Platty and JB Smooth flanking us in the booths. So we just got done talking about Troy Weaver and what's going on there, and if you're losing faith in him. And surprisingly to me, the chat kept somewhat of a level head.
Okay.
And 54% of them said no, they are not losing faith in Troy Weaver. But they brought up Dwane Casey.
Yeah.
And Dwane Casey has been a topic of discussion for the past 2 seasons of his, to say it nicely, questionable decision making.
Yes.
Questionable rotation and lack of defensive anything, lack of defensive identity. That's what I got really scared is when I heard someone very close to the Pistons organization, someone who has been in a lot of different places inside the NBA and their ranks, tell me that when he asked the Pistons about defensive identity, they said they don't have a defensive identity. Yeah. They said they just have concepts. They try to reach out, but they don't have a defensive game plan that they instill. And that is something that I put at the feet of Dwane Casey.
You can tell by watching them play, obviously.
Yes, you could tell by watching them play that they don't really have a defensive identity. And this is something that I wanted to ask you about is, are you finally jumping off the ledge of Dwane Casey? And people want to call in, so yeah, Chris, can you put the number in the chat? Do you know, or JB?
I don't have it offhand,
JB, can you put the number in the chat, and we'll get that pinned so people can call in and tell us their thoughts on the topics. But tell me how you feel about Dwane Casey right now.
I mean, Dwane Casey is basically a dead man right now, and that's. I'm not saying that it's all his fault. He came into a situation, made the playoffs his first year. They were obviously in cap hell. It was going to be a rebuild, and there was going to be a lot of pain. And there's been a lot of pain, and that's for damn sure. Mm-hmm. I guess what concerns me and what has concerned me and what makes me feel like he's just an absolute dead man no matter what is the lack of defense. Wasn't that supposed to be his calling card?
Player development,
yes, player development
and defense, yes.
Yeah, and a guy like Saddiq Bey is kind of like exhibit A of was a terrible defender, even though he has all the makings of a good defender, and player development, a guy who didn't develop. I'm not saying that it's all Dwane Casey's fault. He's had, like I said, he had a tough rebuild with a lot of pain. They got their first overall draft pick right last year. He has a great rookie season. They show some promise, and then the next season he basically is going to miss 70 games. Mm-hmm. Just a lot has kind of gone not in the favor of a Dwane Casey. But when it's all said and done, I know he's a nice guy. I know he's a
very nice guy.
He's been a really good coach in Toronto.
He won Coach of the Year.
He did, and then got fired
the next year.
Yeah. Dwane Casey is going to be remembered as a guy who did absolutely nothing in Detroit. He's going to be known as one of those guys who was just an absolute failure by the numbers and didn't take them to the next level. I don't think any of us expected him to be a championship level coach with this team, given the fact that he was already up there in age, and he's still up there in age. You don't get any younger. But they're going to have 4 seasons of just terrible records. Mm-hmm. Some of that is understandable given the situation he came into, but at this point, Dwane Casey is basically a nothing of a coach who's going to be gone. He's a lame duck. I don't take pleasure in saying that, but that's just reality.
It is reality. You look at what's going on, and like you said, he's a very, very nice man.
Yes.
He has proven that he can be a good coach in the NBA before. He is very well respected amongst the players and the coaching staff and the front management of the Detroit Pistons. So I'm not here to spew any shame on his name, to talk down on the man, because he is a very well respected human in the basketball community and in the Detroit Pistons community. But at some point, there might need to be a change of scenery, and it's looking like that point is closing in on the Detroit Pistons. And with Dwane Casey, he is extremely trusted by Troy Weaver. So this is something that he might leave the head coaching position, but he will probably just rise up in the organization to a different spot. That being something, I'm not sure exactly where he would fall, but I'd find it very hard to see him just completely leaving the Detroit Pistons organization because of what he does. So for me, I think he's going to move on. I would be surprised if I see him coaching games for the Detroit Pistons next season.
Yeah, but, I mean, why would he at this point? There's nothing to gain. They're a terrible team. They need a new voice so that their younger guys, you can make sure that they develop into the players that we all think that they can be, especially a Cade Cunningham or Jaden Ivey, Jalen Durant. There's a lot of promise. Mm-hmm. But Dwane Casey you have seen issues with his player development, with the team having no defensive identity. I mean, you hear that. When Dwane Casey is your coach,
it's scary.
That's alarming. Dwane Casey coach teams are not supposed to have no defensive identity.
Yes.
And maybe if they did have a defensive identity, guys like Boyan and Jaden Ivey and Saddiq Bey, they might not have been absolute liabilities and traffic cones. They might have, because at least with Ivey and Saddiq Bey, they can be good defenders. They have the skill set.
They have the skill set.
Boyan, not so much. But at least Boyan has made up for it with his incredible offensive play.
I agree. JB, we have a caller on. You can put him through. Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights.
How we doing, guys?
Good. How are you, man?
This is it's good. It's Izzy P.
Izzy
I'm
P.
in the chat a lot.
Appreciate you calling in. How you feeling?
Pretty good. Feeling good today. I just want to chime in on the Dwane Casey talk. I mean, Dwane Casey coached the Raptors for, I think, 8 seasons, what I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't start as anything special. I mean, he made DeMar DeRozan into who he is today. I'll definitely say that. So I think Casey deserves at least 1 more year, maybe 2 if they get Wembanyama. But for sure, at least 1 more year, just because he's been season's been messed up by injuries and whatnot, especially to Cade. I think that threw off the whole season. Give him 1 more year, maybe 2 if they get Victor.
I agree. I mean, I don't know if I'd give him a couple more years.
Yeah, 2 seems steep.
I see what he's talking about. Appreciate you for calling in, Easy P. There's a lot going on with what he did do and who he did develop in Toronto, and it's not just DeMar DeRozan. Like, Kyle Lowry wasn't anything before he went to Toronto.
He wasn't a star at all.
He wasn't a star, and then he went to Toronto and was consistently making all-star games.
He's a Hall of Famer now.
He is a Hall of Famer now.
Yeah.
And you look at other guys that were brought up through that organization with Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby and different players like that, and obviously Dwane had them very young in their careers, but he still did something to put them out on the court, to put them out there making plays. So it was there, but I don't know, 2 years might be a little too much of a leash for me.
I mean, that's kind of the thing. My question to Izzy P would be, what has he done to earn 2 more years? I mean, the reality of the situation is this is going to be his 4th consecutive season of less than 23 wins. That's not development. And I understand that some of that can be explained away. There's been some injuries. They were in salary cap hell. It was a complete rebuild at the beginning. But with Dwane Casey, has he earned it? If he doesn't even get a front office position, it wouldn't break my heart, because it doesn't matter how nice of a guy you are.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that their defense is so bad, it's the worst in the league, under Dwane Casey, that's an issue.
It is.
And
it's a huge issue.
2 more years, I mean, that's crazy. 1 more year, I even think that's a little crazy. What's the point?
I think 1 more year is a stretch, too. I can't see him returning as the basketball coach for this team next year. I just can't. As much as I like to say that he is a great guy and he is very well respected, you cannot consistently produce results like this. I understand that losing Cade Cunningham is a big thing. Obviously, that's not something easy to get over, but still, the lack of improvement in the young players, the questionable rotations at best, the lack of defensive anything, it's something for me that I can't see him getting another year, let alone 2.
I mean, 2020, they had 3 first-round draft picks, and I know Troy Weaver has to get some blame for that, but did those players develop into anything tangible under Dwane Casey?
They did not.
They did not. And in fact, Saddiq Bey has regressed.
Yeah, he really has.
And Isaiah Stewart has really turned into a nothing burger in the NBA, other than like some defense.
Mm-hmm.
But Dwane Casey, when it comes to player development, I mean, that's not Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, or like Kyle Lowry or DeMar DeRozan. Those are, like, that's a thing of the past. That was a great job that he did with them, building that Toronto team from nothing to a team that basically consistently lost to LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals. That is an accomplishment. But with Detroit, he's kind of honestly tarnished, I think, what could have been a legacy as a very good coach. It's been a failure. Hate to say it, but this is going to be their 4th consecutive season of winning less than 23 games or less.
It has.
Safe to say.
It has been a failure, I'd say. Chris, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's been a failure, and I think that the one question I would ask is, how important is culture? Because I think that's what Dwane Casey has done most that's been his biggest imprint on the team. It goes back to the young guys love him, all of that stuff, and I think that time has passed, right? Like, you can't rely on culture for 5 seasons. You know, the last couple of years, he's done a good job of building Detroit, of making it a situation that players wanted to be in. That wasn't the case with previous regimes. So he's done that overhaul of the culture, and I think that's been his biggest accomplishment in Detroit. The development has been a real concern, and that's been the only issue I ever had with keeping Dwane Casey in the beginning, or firing Dwane Casey earlier, was that give him time to develop these players, and he hasn't. And I think that I don't want to take too much credit away from Dwane Casey, but I do think you got to really look at Nick Nurse in that situation because he was always labeled the guru behind the player development in Toronto, and look at him in Toronto still developing players, by the way. So it could be that Dwane Casey is good with the right system around him, much like a certain Lions quarterback. We won't
Tell us about Matrix, Chris.
But look, if you're, James Wiseman, you're new to the area, and you got that NBA money, you might need a new crib. You can come to Matrix Home Solutions to get yourself a customized crib. Looking for a new man cave? They are the basement remodel experts, but once again, they also specialize in bathrooms and kitchens, an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. So do them a favor, call them today at 888-594-8844 or go to matrixhomesolutions.com.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Hi, I'm John from Better Rate Mortgage, and to me, family is more than blood. That's why I have the biggest family in Metro Detroit. If you're looking to buy a house or refinance and need a loan, come get treated better than family by me and our entire team here at Better Rate Mortgage. We pride ourselves on giving you better advice, better service, and a better loan experience. That's why we are Better Rate. If you're looking for a new mortgage, come get treated like family. Actually, better with Better Rate Mortgage. Visit us at mybetterrate.com or call at 248-480-4467 today.
3 NBA championships. Detroit fans were there. 11 Stanley Cups. Detroit fans were there. 4 World Series wins. Detroit fans were there. And that one Lions playoff win in 1991? Yeah, Detroit fans were there. Woodward Sports, where the fans are.
What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on woodwardsports.com. I am Spencer Exter. He is Flannel Sam. We have Chris Platty and JB Smooth handling the behind-the-scenes interaction. But we just got done talking about Dwane Casey and what's going on with him, if we think it's going to be his last year with the Detroit Pistons or not, which consensusly, I think we all do think that we'd be surprised if we saw Dwane Casey in the coaching role for the Pistons next year. But you look at, this is something we looked at before the show, and the Pistons are 11th in the NBA in average attendance for their games. So people are still, even in a season without Cade Cunningham, in a season where they are losing terribly and playing just bad basketball in general, they're still 11th. The fans in Detroit are ride or dies, especially Pistons fans.
Yeah.
And we don't got to talk about Lions fans. We know Lions fans are cut from another cloth. But people are still going out to games. Do you think that will change next year if Dwane Casey is brought back, if no top-notch moves are made to actually improve the product on the court? Or is this something that is just going to be consistent?
I think it has everything to do with Detroit Pistons fans and sort of their, I don't know if this is a word, their sort of rabidness. I mean, you even see a microcosm of it is here, like a guy like you, Spencer, and you, Chris Platty, like huge NBA guys like Kool-Aid and Jeff Iafrate. You guys and myself love the Pistons.
Yes.
If there was any season where their attendance would take a dip, it would be this one, because this season, despite what we've seen from Ivy and Durant, has been some of the worst basketball ever seen at any Pistons arena. LCA, House of Auburn Hills, all of that. It's just been a terrible, terrible year. And Cade Cunningham has basically not played at all. So to me, assuming Cade Cunningham gets back healthy next year, that will give fans even more of an incentive to go see them play. I am shocked and proud of Detroit Pistons fans and Detroit Pistons Nation for still showing up and supporting this team, because they haven't given us really anything to cheer about. I mean, that's the reality.
That is the reality.
Like, I'm sort of torn between being proud and kind of being almost like hurt. What are you guys doing?
Yeah,
but at the same time,
hell is going on?
But at the same time, we all know how great an experience a Pistons game is there. And I don't know, I guess it speaks to the fact that I think people still have trust in Troy Weaver. I think that people have been impressed with Ivy and Durant, especially Cade Cunningham. I know everyone's been disappointed that he's basically missed the year, but we know that he's coming back. We know that this team, if Cade Cunningham was on this team, this wouldn't be the worst basketball ever seen in Detroit Pistons arena. They'd probably have 7 to 10 more wins, and I believe that because of what he brings offensively and defensively, which, as we've said ad nauseum, their defense has been an absolute disaster. So I'm proud of the Pistons fans. I think they see the big picture, and it just shows. Man, Pistons fans, like all of us in this room, including JB, we just love that team. We want to see them win so badly.
We do love the team. And Rad in the Woodward Sports chat puts it well. He says the fans deserve a winner. The fans do deserve a winner. The fans deserve better than this. The fans deserve a team that they can at least watch compete. And that's what you saw last year at the end of the season.
Yes.
And that's what inspired fans for this year, was a team that was fighting, a team that was competing, a team that was in games, that wasn't getting blown out. They weren't winning all of them, but they were at least competing and looked like they were playing a good, realistic brand of basketball. And I understand not having Cade Cunningham, who is your best playmaker, your best perimeter defender, and the leader of your team already, is a big reason to why they're not performing at the same level. But still, the fans deserve more. I said this. They are 11th in the league.
Unbelievable.
In average attendance. That is ahead of the Lakers. That is ahead of the Grizzlies. That is ahead of teams that are actually competing, that are in playoff races. And for me to sit there and accept something like this as a fan, as someone who covers the sports, as someone who watches every game, it is not acceptable to me that this is the consistent product that has been putting out in a 4-year span. I do believe they'll get better, but I need to see next year, or at least hopefully this year in the second half of the season, some realistic, tangible evidence that things are trending upwards, some realistic, tangible evidence that players are getting better, that the team is improving, that they're playing hard, and that they're actually trying on defense. Because if not, I don't know if I can sit through another season of that next year. But if you win the lottery and you get Wembanyama and everybody is excited and they see it happen, and it's like a repeating circle of just getting kicked in the nuts over and over. You get a good draft class. You get guys you're excited about. You get a Cade Cunningham. Oh, they're going to compete. They're going to play well. Cade plays well. Should have won Rookie of the Year. Oh, they're only going to get better from here. You get a Jaden Ivey and a Jalen Durant and sign a Bojan Bogdanovic. You're like, damn, this team can fucking compete. This team can do something that is actually meaningful in the landscape of the NBA, and then they kick you in the nuts because they look like they're unprepared for games. They don't have a defensive thought in their minds when they're on the court, and I hate going there and seeing that because I know this team is better. I know this team is more talented than what I'm seeing every night, and I need to see something. I need to see a change somehow.
I got to ask you a question then, because it almost sounds like you're saying that Pistons fans should have maybe punished this team with their wallets and maybe not showed up.
I don't want to say that.
No, I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but you're right. The product has been terrible. I mean, we all understand Cade Cunningham has basically been out for the season, but defensively, there's no identity. There's not a lot of effort. I mean, it's been bad basketball.
It's been very bad.
It's, like I said, the worst basketball maybe we've ever seen in a Detroit Pistons arena. I mean, I kind of want to go around the room. Chris, do you are you? Because I said I was proud of Detroit Pistons fans. Do you think they should have punished this team with their wallets by maybe saying, like, I don't want to see this season?
No.
Okay.
I'm not with that, because ultimately I understand the frustration. Spencer, that was me 4 or 5 years ago with this team, but not right now, because, again, we understand the situation that was inherited, and not excusing everything. Of course they can and should be better, but you have to understand, like, this team had to tear down, then rebuild.
Yes.
And going back through the last 15 years, like, I don't know if I've ever been as excited about 3 prospects as I am Cade, Ivy, and Durant.
Mm-hmm.
We all are.
Except for Easy.
Yeah, except for Easy. We know that, but, you know, that's why he's not here today. No, I'm kidding. But I do think that next year is the boiling point. Like, all your frustrations, Spencer, are not inaccurate, are not out of bounds, but I think that I want to push that to next year, because I've just seen this team have to completely tear down, and this year got ruined with Cade Cunningham's injury.
It did.
And next year, I think is when you can really be like, okay, you have $57 million in cap space. You have theoretically a top 5 draft pick. You have 3 young players that actually show promise, and you want to project moving forward will be good. You might even have a new regime at the coaching staff.
Probably will.
So all of these things translate to we need to see drastic improvement next year. And I'm not talking, competing for the East, but again, just a much, much better product next year.
30 plus wins.
30 plus wins.
Yeah.
Let me by February not know the season is over.
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking.
I want to be somebody who's going after good pieces on the deadline.
Yeah.
That is another part that I didn't think about it is like they're not in the position to like trade picks to get a Cam Johnson or why do I keep saying Cam Thomas?
Cam Thomas is a
bucket, he's going crazy right now. 3 40-point games in a row. I take it for sure.
Is that quick side note? Is that Brooklyn's Jeremy Lin storyline?
Yes. Oh, 100%.
The most random 3 consecutive 40-point games ever. We all knew that Cam Thomas coming out of LSU, he had a scorer's upside, but you don't just get 3 40-point games in a row by accident.
That's unbelievable. Happen by accident. You got to be a bucket. So I would love to see the Pistons get a Cam Johnson or a Mikal Bridges or someone that fills a need. But when the team is competing, when the team is not, all right, there's no chance where number 1 lottery option is what they're playing for this year. I want them to go out and do that when they're playing for a play-in, when they're playing for a playoff race, rather than just adding it and then having a wasted year on the deal and giving up some assets. Because if you want Mikal Bridges, you're going to have to give up a first-round pick and a player.
Yeah.
At the very least.
And Chris, you brought up a good point. I mean, I think Detroit Pistons fans are smart enough to realize that once Cade Cunningham goes down, there's not a whole lot that this team is going to do. They see Ivy and Durant basically being exactly what you hope they'd be. I'd say Durant has even succeeded expectations, especially being drafted number 13 overall. Yeah, 100%. But next year is the year where I think they have to compete with Cade Cunningham coming back, with another year of development for the young guys, Ivy and Durant, with another draft class that could include a Victor Wembanyama and probably at the absolute worst a Brandon Miller, who I think is the best player in college basketball.
I like Brandon Miller
I do
a
too.
lot. That's I would be happier with the 3rd overall pick than the 2nd overall pick.
Yes.
Because then Scoot is going to be great, but like Brandon Miller is such a good fit for what the Pistons need right now.
I like him a lot.
Yeah, I think he's a much better fit, a much better option for the Pistons than Scoot would be, personally. I think Scoot will be probably a more dynamic player, but what Brandon Miller would bring to this team would be.
Yeah. Well, it's next year. Let's not talk about who we're drafting this time. Let's talk about who's in the rotation and who should and what adjustments need to be made and how can they get the play-in spot. Like that's where you want this
buyers.
to be.
I want to be buyers and not buyers of dead product, not buyers of spoiled food. I want to be a buyer of something that will immediately make an impact and give you a 5-win bonus on your team.
Yep, and I think that the Pistons, that should be their expectation next year, because those same fans that have been watching this terrible basketball team this year, some of the worst basketball probably they've ever seen in their lives, at least at the NBA level, those same fans also watched in the previous season, the 2021-2022 season, in the month of March. Cade averaged 23, 6, and 7 on 48% shooting.
Yes.
That guy's not here. He's coming back. He's a guy that I think should compete for an all-star position.
And he's going to be the healthiest he's been since high school.
Yeah, and even with shin problems, that first month of the year, he wasn't. He obviously, in the games leading up to his injury, he had some real clunkers, but he wasn't bad at all to begin the season. He was averaging about like 23, 6, and 7 on 44% shooting.
Yeah.
Cade Cunningham, he's him.
He is,
but he's not here this year.
And again, $57 million in cap space that you can use to go get a veteran in a trade that is a contract looking to. You can use that to get a player like Alec Burks, like they did this summer when the Knicks we want to sign Jalen Brunson, but we can't afford him. Okay, let's dump this good player. They dumped a good player like Alec Burks. Like there's so many avenues between the youth, the draft capital that we have coming, plus the cap space. Like there should be no reason that the Pistons don't have high expectations next year.
A lot of high expectations next year, but they need to work out the defense. And we have talked a lot about Pistons, but we're going to talk about defense for the Lions after this, especially one specific player who got an award today. But first, let me tell you about defense you can have on and off the court in Guardian Alarm, because it's a new year, so let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Their professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. With their 24/7 professional monitoring, you can call them anytime, day or night, and know a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology. It's been proven to work, and people have been proven to care. So call them at 1-800
Stay Out.
That's 1-800
Stay Out,
and let them know Woodward Sports sent you.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
If you want to lose some weight like our very own Ryan Ermanni did, you can go to Custom Health Centers. Look at that. Ryan Ermanni, 2 weeks in, he went from Corey Spaghetti to Corey Maggette.
Ryan Ermanni!
But in all seriousness, Ryan Ermanni did enlist the help of Custom Health Centers, and he's down upwards of 20 pounds. You can do the same too. Call them at 844-789-8446. That's 844-789-8446. Call Custom Health Centers today and let them help you lose some weight. What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on WoodwardSports.com. We just did an hour and a half of basketball. That's probably the first time that's ever happened on this show. And viewership was lovely. Yep. Obviously, it was a big day. Trade deadline was going crazy. But now we got to talk about something else that happened today that kind of got pushed back under the radar because of so much going on crazy in the NBA. Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson walked away with some hardware today. Yep. He won the Pepsi Defensive Rookie of the Year, which is a fan-voted award given out by Pepsi. And Aiden Hutchinson took home the hardware. A lot of people said he didn't deserve it. It was obviously a fan-voted award. It's not the big one. It's not the National Writers Association. But how do you feel about that, Sam Flannel? Did he deserve that award over Sauce Gardner?
I don't think he was the best defensive rookie. I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth, but when you see Sauce Gardner's name as first-team All-Pro corner as a rookie, he's basically was prime Darrelle Revis as a rookie. You can't deny that. But since it's fan-voted, I'm not at all surprised it was Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson made the splash plays. He had 9.5 sacks. He had 3 interceptions to Sauce Gardner's 2. And Aiden Hutchinson, to me, was the best defensive player on this team on a defense that in their last 10 games was only giving up 20 points per game and gave up less than 26 times.
They were playing very well.
Yes, and in the Detroit Lions, they kind of became, when they got their season from 1-6 to 9-8, they became media darlings. People liked watching Aiden Hutchinson. They saw what he could be out of Michigan, which that's what I think I'm most proud of, is like, I watched a lot of his college games, obviously. I watched pretty much every snap.
Yes.
I was very, very high on him. Not just his floor and his sort of, he's going to go in and be an NFL-ready player, but his upside. I think we saw this season that not only is he a great rookie in the present, but he has that kind of Bosa, Watt, Myles Garrett kind of upside that maybe we didn't know that he had. You saw his athleticism. You saw his smarts. After he got his sort of rookie growing pains out of the way, he was a very, very smart player. He was good at like holding contain and gap integrity. All that stuff that he struggled with in the beginning, he kind of figured that out and ironed it all out and had a really good rookie season, a great rookie season. And he was one of the biggest reasons why this team improved from 3 to 9. Hitting on your second overall draft pick, your first round draft pick, is so integral for a team, and Aiden Hutchinson was everything that we could have asked for and more. I predicted 12 sacks. I'll take 9.5 and 3 interceptions any day of the week. That is a phenomenal year.
I agree. Aiden Hutchinson had a fantastic year, although I'm going to agree with you. Sauce is going to take home the actual award, the non-Pepsi award.
Such a Michigan hater.
Yeah, I know.
No,
right?
I said that first.
No, you look at what he did, man. It's in 1,115 snaps in 17 games. He only let up 452 receiving yards. That is absolutely insane.
When you're first team All-Pro as a rookie, that doesn't happen.
First team All-Pro as a rookie doesn't happen. It definitely doesn't happen as a cornerback.
Absolutely not. And this is a league that has a lot of great corners like Jalen Ramsey and Patrick Surtain and Jair Alexander and countless others, AJ Terrell. But according to his play this year, he was the best cornerback in the NFL as a rookie. I think fans. And this isn't me knocking on fans. Like, he didn't have a ton of interceptions. He had 2 to Aiden Hutchinson's 3, which is crazy in and of itself.
That is pretty wild.
But he shut down half the field. He was the best at his position of any player. I mean,
in the league, not just rookies.
Yeah, and that's just incredible. But that should not take away from anything that Aiden Hutchinson did. He was. Every single Lions fan is ecstatic with the season he had and what he could bring to this team in the future. I mean, this team had no real pass rush. I mean, Charles Harris last year had 7.5 sacks, but Aiden Hutchinson was brought in here to basically be the best player on a defense that was bad last year, was terrible for the first 6 or 7 games of this season, and he delivered on all of that. And the Detroit Lions, above all, are winning. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that in the last 10 games, their defense got so much better than at the beginning of the year. Kudos to Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not saying that he deserved the AP Rookie of the Year, but the fact that he got this recognition, I have no problem with it because he was so great as a rookie.
I agree. Aiden Hutchinson had a fantastic career. He is that blue chip pass rush stock that you wanted. He is that blue chip pass rusher that you were expecting to get. I thought he was going to go number 1 overall in the draft. He ended up, thanks Jacksonville, by the way. Thank you, Jacksonville. He ended up falling down to number 2. The Lions got him, and he turned it on. And after that, he had a little bit of a cold stretch. He was dealing with an injury, but after that, he was making game-changing play after game-changing play. Like you said, the best player on this defense, bar none. He had an extremely impressive rookie campaign, and if it wasn't for Sauce Gardner having a historic rookie campaign, he would be no doubt the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year. It was extremely impressive what he did. The man went out there, gave it his all every game, was in the backfield causing havoc. Like you said, the 3 interceptions was crazy. Having, what do you have, a sack and a half at the end of the year, or the last game of the year, or 2 sacks at the last game of the year to push him over James Houston, his teammate, for the rookie lead in sacks. Just an extremely, extremely impressive season for Aiden Hutchinson. I said next year I got him at 13.5 sacks. And I think it's very achievable, especially with what they're doing with the addition of James Houston, who's going to play all year, assuming they grab another piece on that defensive line to give him some even more help. But Aiden Hutchinson, a fantastic rookie campaign, very deserving of this award. Unfortunately for him, Sauce Gardner is more than likely going to win the AP award because, like I said, he had a historic season. Like you said, first team All-Pro as a rookie, that doesn't happen. He led the league in PBUs with 20. He only allowed 463 receiving yards on the season in over 1,100 snaps. The guy was a freaking nightmare out there. But Aiden Hutchinson, great year, and I appreciate how much he meant to this team, what he did to this team, how much he helped the defense, and hopefully he just continues to grow, follows that Bosa-Garrett trajectory that he is on, and we'll see next year when he comes out there even more motivated. Because I know we've seen in interviews and watching how he speaks to the media, he seems like a very mild-mannered guy, doesn't allow too much things to get under his skin or ruffle his feathers, but I would believe that this is going to be a bulletin board thing for Aiden Hutchinson. That this is going to be something that, if he does not win Rookie of the Year, which I don't expect him to, that's going to be something that he's going to remember. And I think he's going to go out there next year, and the league is going to have to worry about big number 97.
Yeah, and I actually I wouldn't say I copied off of you, but when you said 13.5 sacks, I thought about it for a second, and I'm like, ooh, that seems kind of steep. But then I'm like, you know what? He's going to get 13.5 sacks. That's my prediction for him as well. And we're talking about Bosa, Garrett, Watt. That's 13.5 sacks in a season. That's a Pro Bowler. That is borderline All-Pro. That means you are one of the best edge rushers, at least at getting to the quarterback in the NFL. And I expect Aiden Hutchinson to do that next year, be that perennial Pro Bowler, possibly All-Pro. And I think his ceiling is absolutely Hall of Fame. But one thing that, when it comes to this year, that I think is a pretty cool achievement and something that kind of selfishly I really, really enjoy. 3 out of the top 5 draft picks were edge rushers. Aiden Hutchinson waxed them with production. He had more sacks this season than Trayvon Walker and Kayvon Thibodeau combined. And don't get me wrong, Kayvon Thibodeau, I really liked what I saw.
I think Kayvon's going to be a very good player.
He's a damn good player. Trayvon Walker, I'm not so sure, but he did have some flashes, and he was obviously part of a team that had the best turnaround in all of the NFL. So credit to him. He wasn't terrible, but Aiden Hutchinson was the one guy who put up the numbers, who led all rookies in sacks, who also had 3 interceptions. I mean, he was all over the field, making splash plays, game-changing, altering plays, to where you're like, if Aiden Hutchinson isn't on the team, like, think about it. If Jacksonville decides to go with Aiden Hutchinson and Detroit goes with Trayvon Walker, this is not a 9-win team.
I believe they would have went with Kayvon Thibodeau.
Okay,
I think that's where they were going if Hutchinson was off the board. But yeah, I agree with you. You put either of those guys in the place of Aiden Hutchinson, it's not a 9-win team. They don't have the impact that he did his rookie year. It was extremely impressive. It was fun to watch. It's fun to watch him develop. When he finally stood up, when he got out of the 3-point stance, and he really let loose, and he's making things happen. He seems like a very happy guy to be around, a very good personality to have in your locker room. So I'm really excited for him. I'm glad for him to be the face of this defense for hopefully his entire career.
Well, and the fact that him, along with the coaching staff, I think it was probably collaborative, because we're able to sort of make some adjustments, like standing up. We saw he did that at Michigan all the time and thrived. Because at some points during the year, I know we had some questions about Aiden Hutchinson. Even myself, the Aiden Hutchinson Slappy Supreme was still kind of like, he's over pursuing. The defense is terrible. He had that one good game against Washington. And other than that, he's basically been a non-factor. But then he adjusted. The coaching staff adjusted. That shows me that he's coachable. That shows me that he's self-aware. That shows me that he wants to be great. He doesn't get complacent. And just how he ended the season, how the defense ended the season, how he and James Houston worked so well together. James Houston was obviously enormously productive, but it didn't hurt Aiden Hutchinson's productivity. They complemented each other so well. And so, yeah, Aiden Hutchinson, kudos to him. He had a season that was worthy of a Defensive Rookie of the Year. And
Very
the fact
much
that
so.
I know it's the Pepsi Award, it's not really that prestigious, but just that the fans acknowledge how great he was. It's not just Detroit; it's the whole nation.
Everybody knows.
They're on notice.
They're on notice, and like I said, hopefully we get to see Aiden Hutchinson doing this for the rest of his career in Honolulu Blue, because he is a game wrecker. It's what he is. It's what they drafted him to be. It's what he lived up to his first season in the NFL. And next year he's only going to get better. So I'm just really excited to see how his career progresses for the Detroit Lions. But let me tell you guys about Big Boy, because comfort foods are back. And wintertime in Detroit is always better with comfort foods from Big Boy. Try the classic meatloaf or Cajun chicken Alfredo. How about breakfast? The stuffed potato pancakes are back. The Lumberjack, Santa Fe Garden, or Blockbuster. Stop by your local Big Boy today and satisfy those taste buds.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
When it comes to making your haircut truly an experience, there's no better place than Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Come to any one of our 26 Metro Detroit locations for an award-winning haircut experience and qualify for a chance to win a down payment for your dream home up to $200,000. Our precision haircut and talented stylists will have you looking good, feeling good, and give you a chance to change your life forever. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
What's a winter wonderland if you can't shop, eat, and play? Lucky for you, you can do it all at the Downtown Detroit Markets, Cadillac Lodge, and the new winter version of the Monroe Street Midway, all located just across the street from Campus Martius Park. Find the fun at deckedoutdetroit.com.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Chili Peppers Tanning, that is where you need to go to find the cleanest salons in the D. Spotless, sanitized rooms, trained and certified tanning professionals. Join the Pepper Club for all the best deals where they beat all competitors by $5. $5. Don't forget to pick up Australian Gold, Designer Skin, Caltan, and Swedish Beauty Lotions. All great options for you. ChiliPeppersTanning.com, the hottest bulbs, the hottest deals, the darkest tans. Once again, it's ChiliPeppersTanning.com.
That's true. You know, I see you guys in the chat. Sauce Gardner might be first team All-Pro. Sauce Gardner might have had the most pass breakups in the league this year, but he doesn't have the Pepsi Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. I think Patty Grimes said he's not good enough to win Pepsi Rookie of the Year.
He's not good enough to win the Pepsi Rookie of the Year, so we'll leave it at that. You tell us who's better. AP, Writers Association.
What do they know?
All pro voters. What do you guys know?
Nothing.
Aiden Hutchinson has a Pepsi award. But all seriousness, though, Aiden Hutchinson, fantastic season. And he would have won the Defensive Rookie of the Year a lot. Like Chris asked us before we went to break, you know, you go at a 10-year span, how many times would this season by Aiden Hutchinson have won Defensive Rookie of the Year? And I said, probably 9. Like, you look at Chase Young. When Chase Young won Defensive Rookie of the Year, he had 7.5 sacks. He did have 4 forced fumbles, no interceptions, 10 tackles for loss, and he was a Pro Bowler in the Defensive Rookie of the Year.
I would have had Aiden Hutchinson.
Hutch had a better year.
Yeah, he did.
It's it's unfortunate, but it is we don't need an award to know that he is one of, if not the best rookies in the National Football League.
But you have an award.
But you do have an award. Yeah, we got one. You know?
Every time I drink a Pepsi,
I prefer Wild Cherry, but hey, it is what it is. It's the Pepsi Zero Award. But this is something that I wanted to do for the past couple days on BDE, but we haven't got to it. We did it originally with Aiden Hutchinson and Penny Sewell.
Yeah.
Was if you were only able to keep one of them for the rest of their career, who are you taking? But this one is a little different. It's the same concept. You're only able to keep one of these guys for the rest of their career. Who do you keep and why? Amon-Ra St. Brown or Kerby Joseph? And can you put a poll up of that, Chris?
I'm interested to see the chat for this. I would take Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's not even close. Because Amon-Ra St. Brown, what he has done in year 2, he is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. He had 106 catches for over 1,100 yards and 6 touchdowns. He is Jared Goff's favorite target. I think he is the relationship that he has with Jared Goff. It's complementary. One cannot be as good as they were last year without each other. They've built that rapport. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a star right now. Kerby Joseph, I got a lot of love for what he did. He had forced 6 turnovers, including 3 interceptions of Aaron Rodgers, and that carries a lot of weight, especially since Aaron Rodgers is probably the Lions' biggest nemesis of the last 10 years. Not probably, definitely. And Aaron Rodgers is a guy who historically does not throw interceptions, but he did to Kerby Joseph.
Yes.
And Kerby Joseph wrecked those games. But Amon-Ra St. Brown he could have been a Pro Bowler this season.
He should have been a Pro Bowler.
He probably should have been over Terry McLaurin. And we're talking about him as a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL right now. And this is a deep there's a lot of great wide receivers. You got Justin Jefferson's, Jamar Chase's, and Tyreek Hill, and Devontae Adams. This is as loaded as the wide receiver position has been in NFL history. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is worthy of a top 10 ranking, even though, and the thing about him too is he doesn't even have sort of the physical attributes of a Jamar Chase or a Justin Jefferson or like freakish speed like Tyreek Hill. just all he does is get open.
I agree.
He's a great route runner. He's obviously well coached. I mean, he's obviously can take well to coaching, because you don't just become a 4th-round draft pick and be a star in year 2 without being very coachable and a hard worker. And to me, Amon-Ra St. Brown, it's been a revelation what he's done. Kerby Joseph, I got a ton of love for him. I've got, like I said,
it's a playmaker in the back
ball
end.
just finds him, and that has a lot of weight as a safety. But I don't think he's a star yet. I think he has the makings of one. I also saw him struggle a bit in the beginning. Yeah. With Amon-Ra St. Brown,
it's only his second year playing the position.
And that is very true. But me, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he is a sure thing. He is a guy that every year he can roll out of bed, get 110 catches, 1,100 yards.
I agree.
And I think he's going to do that for the rest of his career. So give me Amon-Ra St. Brown. And to me, with all due respect to Kerby, it's not even close.
I agree. It's you look at what Amon-Ra, obviously Kerby Joseph looks like he's projecting to be a great player.
Yeah.
Looks like he's projecting to be a great player on the back end of that defense. But Amon-Ra St. Brown already is a great player. Amon-Ra St. Brown should have been a no-doubt Pro Bowler, not an alternate. He should have been a Pro Bowler this year. He was one of the top 10 receivers in football. The man goes out there and takes care of business every time. And like you said, he wakes up out of bed. He's going to catch you 100-plus balls. He's going to give you 1,000-plus yards, and you know what you got with him. And to me, that is something that is so impressive, especially with how the NFL is and with our quarterback situation.
Yeah.
It is very helpful for Jared Goff to have a safety valve in Amon-Ra St. Brown, where if the deep shot isn't there, if someone else is covered, Amon-Ra St. Brown's going to be open, because he's always fucking open. Every single play. Yeah. It's like Travis Kelce. Like how Travis Kelce is somehow open every damn play. Amon-Ra St. Brown is open every play, and he catches everything. He catches everything.
And Amon-Ra St. Brown, we kind of mentioned him with Jared Goff. We all know Jared Goff doesn't have the big arm, and he sometimes struggles to throw the ball down the field with deep shots. With Amon-Ra St. Brown, that is the perfect wide receiver for him. And every single quarterback, no matter how good you are, if you have a wide receiver that is always open, runs the underneath routes very, very well, is good after the catch, catches everything, has made some of the biggest plays of the last 2 seasons for the Detroit Lions, that is beyond like a luxury for this team. It is what Amon-Ra St. Brown has done. I mean, without him, I don't think their offense really ever develops into a top 5 offense. I mean, it absolutely does not. No. He is the perfect wide receiver for the perfect scheme, for the perfect kind of quarterback to fit him, and sort of the perfect version of the NFL. He's almost impossible to cover. Give me Amon-Ra St. Brown.
That being said, who has more receiving yards next season? Amon-Ra St. Brown or Jameson Williams?
Oh, boy. That's you got me with that one. I am going to go with...
Set him up for it.
Nice.
Chop him down.
I'm going to say Jameson Williams.
Oh!
And I know. I just waxed poetic about Amon-Ra St. Brown. And everything that I said, I still believe.
Do a new poll with that, Chris.
Okay.
But you know what? You know why it's going to be Jameson Williams? Do you know why? Because it has to.
Oh!
It has to be Jameson Williams. And I...
Just every time.
What are you talking about?
Hey, if Jameson Williams is your leading receiver, I think we'd all be very happy, because that means he would have probably hit his... I mean, not his ceiling, but the thing about Jameson Williams is that last season, he was basically a lost year. He played in 6 games, had 2 touches. Both of them went for 40 yards, but the fact that he only had 2 touches, I think, is a little bit concerning.
Yeah.
You got to see Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, with bad quarterback play, have 1,000 yards their rookie year. So to me, Jameson Williams, if he wants to reward the faith that the Detroit Lions put in him by drafting him 12 overall ahead of a Jordan Davis, who I think would have helped this team more this year, Jameson Williams has to go out there and ball. And I think that he has the skill set. He is, to me, the second fastest player in the NFL right now after Tyreek Hill. I mean, you saw it on that flea flicker that was called back. When he caught that ball, if it were a lesser receiver, if it were like a Khalif Raymond, I believe the DB would have got the angle and pushed him out of bounds. But Jameson Williams just ran right by him. When he's even, he's leaving. It wasn't even close.
I agree.
And so, yeah, Jameson Williams, I think I think he's a guy that's going to reward the faith, that is going to be a great player. But in order to do that, you got to start next year and have a 1,000-yard season. And I think Jameson Williams, I think they'll be within 70 yards of each other, but it'll be Jameson Williams.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty close. I think they'll both be over 1,000 yards receiving. I think this is something that this offense is set to explode. And we talked about Jameson Williams multiple times, where he had damn near every touch he had this season was a scoring potential play. He had the breakup. He had the touchdown.
Yes.
He had a touchdown that should have been there that was broken up because the ball was underthrown.
Against the Jets.
He had his reverse that if he would have cut inside would have been an easy touchdown.
Yeah.
And he had a touchdown taken away from him by a penalty. So it was extremely impressive with me what I saw to Jameson Williams. The big play ability that is in that man is something different. So for me, I'd probably... The safe bet is to say Amon-Ra St. Brown because he's going to do it and he could continue to do it. But my heart wants to say Jameson Williams. My heart wants to say that this guy is going to do what he was brought here to do. Like you said, the second fastest player in the NFL next to Tyreek Hill. I want him to go out there and have the success and excuse me, and have an amazing season going forward. So I'm going to say Jameson Williams.
Let's go. Let's go.
Jamo. And the guy is a freak of nature.
But is there an element too, and this isn't meant to knock Jameson Williams. I'm glad you came to that conclusion, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We agree. Is there an element of sort of, not to threaten him per se, but he better produce next year because we're giving him a complete mulligan for this past year. And I think the 2 touches in 6 games is a little concerning, but you know what? I'll let that slide because I think next year he is going to show the world why he was the Lions traded up for him, why we all unanimously agree that was a great pick. You saw what he could do in college. You saw what he can do with 2 touches in the NFL. He's a guy that can – he's the first guy that I can remember with the Detroit Lions besides Calvin Johnson that you could see having a 3-catch for 112-yard 1-touchdown game.
Yeah,
and that's kind of why I think – his yards per catch will be, I think, between 16 and 17, and Amon-Ra's will be between 10 and 11. I think that's what will ultimately put Jameson Williams over the top.
Like that Randy Moss stat line on Thanksgiving where it was like 3 catches, 196 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Like
that was insane.
That's what he is.
Insane.
That's what he's capable of doing.
Yes.
The guy takes the top off the defense. But we got to go to break real quick. Flannel, why don't you tell us about Swiss Insurance?
Absolutely. Be sure to check with Swiss Insurance this week for your commercial insurance review. Many businesses choose a January 1st effective date. Swiss can help make sure you have the proper coverage. Swiss Insurance, give us a shot and you won't be disappointed. Email them at mark@swissins.com. That is mark@swissins.com.
Woodward Sports loves sports, and we also love to party. Join us for the big super party. Wait, we can't say super. We really can't say. Come join us at our super party on Sunday, February 12th, from the only place that can handle a Woodward Sports super party. Well, our super party will be at Flight Club on Michigan Avenue in Inkster. Join us for a live pregame show and watch party with the crew. Enjoy a halftime buffet, DJs, the Woodward Sports family, and more entertainment. You don't want to miss the big game with Woodward Sports. Get there early. This event will reach capacity. Come celebrate the Lions season. Enjoy the final game of the year in style. See you Super Sunday at Flight Club. At least the party will be uncensored.
And the Eagles are so much better than the Eagles.
Hi, Christina Gennari from Keller Williams Domain, your obvious choice in real estate. The Lions aren't headed to the Super Bowl, but you might be headed to your new home. Call or text me 248-550-4788 or come see me at soldchristina.com. I want to make sure you don't miss out on this hot spring market that's just getting warmed up. See you soon.
Hey, it's Tom Mazaway for all your real estate needs. Check out my gal, Christina Gennari. She's got you covered. Right, Lions?
Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
What up, though, everybody, and welcome back to the Woodward Heavyweights live on woodwardsports.com, the new and improved woodwardsports.com. You should check out that website as soon as you can. It looks great. You got all the live scores up top, all the easy access to the different pages that you want to see. Great stuff coming to woodwardsports.com. But we spent all day talking about the Pistons, and we threw some Lions in there at the end, and we didn't even mention the biggest trade of the trade deadline. Which happened late last night in the early hours of the morning. Kevin Durant got traded to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for Cam Johnson,
There you go. You got it right this time.
Yeah, I had to take that one slow. Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, and 4 unprotected first-round picks. Matt Ishbia went in there, put that thing on the table, and said, I'm getting Kevin Durant. We're going to win a championship. And that is what they are now, are the championship favorites. Having a team comprised of Devin Booker, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and now Kevin Durant, on top of keeping a good wing defender and 3-and-D guy in Torrey Craig, adding a solid bench scoring piece in TJ Warren.
Bubble God.
Bubble God TJ Warren.
That's right.
It's just crazy to me that this is the favorite to win the championship now. The Phoenix Suns are the favorite to win the championship. I can't wait to see that game. It's going to be some beautiful basketball to watch with those three guys on the court at the same time. And I know Kevin Durant's happy to get out of that Brooklyn situation.
100%. Let me just say now, congratulations to the 2022-2023 NBA champion Phoenix Suns. Getting Kevin Durant cannot be overstated because Kevin Durant is, at worst, a top 3 offensive talent ever.
Number 1.
And you know what? 7 foot, can pull it from 30. I won't even argue with that.
Yeah.
But what Kevin Durant does best, better than any player in NBA history, in my opinion, is be able to fit into a system. He doesn't need to have the ball. He doesn't need to be the leader. He just wants to go there and play basketball. I mean, look, the reason why the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant and the 2016 and 2017 team and the 2017-2018 team, but specifically the 2017 team was the greatest NBA team ever is because of how well Kevin Durant fit into that system. It was Steph Curry and Kevin Durant at the peak of their powers, fitting perfectly together, adding with a Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. Kevin Durant is just that kind of guy. And with Phoenix...
Yeah. And people are saying they have a lack of defenders now. Obviously, you just traded away 3 great perimeter defenders to get him. They still got some guys that can defend on the perimeter. Obviously, Kevin Durant is a good defender on the perimeter. You have Torrey Craig, who is a great defender on the perimeter. You have Josh Okogie, who is a great defender on the perimeter. You have Damon Lee, who is a very solid 3-and-D option. And there is still going to be a buyout market of guys that can come in there and make a difference. So to me, yeah, this is the favorite. And Saban Lee is going to get a championship. How crazy is that?
And you know what? For all the people who kind of want to talk about their defense, their lack thereof, or depth, I don't care. This team has Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton.
Oh, Sam doesn't care about defense.
I know,
surprise, surprise.
I know. And DeAndre Ayton is your 4th best player. That is insane.
It is pretty wild.
And that's the thing. Chris Paul, he wants a championship more than anything. He has never been able to distribute the ball to a player like Kevin Durant. Devin Booker, I don't think that he is a guy that you can sort of pair with Chris Paul and be a championship level player. They almost did, but they came up a little bit short. But as a guy you pair with Kevin Durant and Chris Paul, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? This is the greatest collection of talent on a team, 4 deep, in NBA history.
Whoa! What about the Lakers? When they had Shaq, Kobe, Karl Malone, and Gary Payton.
Well, they were washed up.
That's fair.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
think
were both.
Chris is getting kind of washed though.
I mean,
like CP3 is getting to the wash.
Hey, but I could bring the ball up the court if I got on the wings, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Like,
That's
are
a
you
good-
kidding me?
that's a good
Chris
point.
Paul is going to be the king of 4 points and 16 assists.
Yeah, 20
That's
assists,
gonna-
4 steals.
But that's what he can do now. That's
Yeah.
kind of what you
This
want
is heaven
Chris
for him.
Right, that's what you want Chris Paul to be because he's obviously lost a step or two. He's not the player that even he was a couple years ago where he was fighting for an MVP.
Yeah.
But he can distribute the ball to Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, and then when you want to feed it down low to DeAndre Ayton, he's there too. And DeAndre Ayton
Ridiculous.
is one of the best centers in the NBA. He's like a tier below star, but he's as your 4th best player. I think you could win a championship with him as your 3rd, but as your 4th,
I think you could too.
this is, if they stay healthy, your 2023 NBA champion Phoenix Suns. Start the parade right now.
I find it very hard seeing a team beat them in 7-game series.
Yes.
I can't look at a team and be like, yeah, they'll beat them in a 7-game series. Except maybe Denver.
But speaking of Denver, how you kind of got a feel for a Nikola Jokic right now because this is the first time that a Nikola Jokic-led Denver Nuggets team was going to go into the playoffs as the favorite in the West.
And healthy.
Yeah.
And healthy with Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. This was the year for him to win a finals MVP, but what can you do against that Phoenix Suns team?
You cannot. There's nothing you can do. But I appreciate you joining me, Flannel.
Of course, anytime.
We'll be back on the desk tomorrow. Appreciate all of you watching on WoodwardSports.com. For Flannel Sam to my left, for Chris Platty in the TD booth, JB Smooth on the 1s and 2s. I am Spencer Raxter. We are the Woodward Heavyweights, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.